लोकोपि तावदेव भोजनादि व्यापारस्तु आशरीर धारणावधि. The Sharira Dharana Vyapar, health and hygiene, that will continue from birth to death. But Shastra Rakshana and Loka Rakshana, let it happen after Nishchaya Daradhya. Nishchaya Daradhyat Urdhvam. Shastra Rakshanam, Loka Rakshanam. Shastra Rakshanam means protection of scriptures by way of following the norms laid down in the scriptures or preaching the scriptures. By that we keep the scriptures alive. We, in the sense, a person who has got this Nishchaya Daradhya, he or she keeps the scriptures alive. And also Loka Rakshana by following social norms. So all that Shastra Rakshana and Loka Rakshana has to be done after Nishchaya Daradhya, Urdhvam. And Nishchaya Daradhya, we understood, or in this interpretation, it means firmness of conviction. So the sutra says that you engage in Shastra Rakshana and Loka Rakshana after firmness of conviction. And we discussed that this is the literal meaning, but the intended meaning is, so long as one has not achieved Nishchaya Daradhya, one should not try or engage in this Shastra Rakshana or Loka Rakshana. One should not occupy one's mind with this Shastra Rakshana or Loka Rakshana. We gave an example. Let there be merriment after the exams. That is the literal meaning. But the intended meaning is, so long as exams are not over, forget about merriment. Focus on passing the exam well. So also, Shastra Rakshana, protecting the scriptures, protecting the world, all that, leave it to those who have achieved Nishchaya Daradhya. Let it happen after Nishchaya Daradhya. But the teaching is, so long as you have not attained Nishchaya Daradhya, so long as you have not attained firmness of conviction, focus on attaining it. Strive to achieve that Nishchaya Daradhya. Anyatha, if without attaining Nishchaya Daradhya, without attaining this firmness of conviction, you engage, you take up the responsibility of protecting the scriptures and protecting the world, anyatha patityashanka, there is fear that you will fall. That was the Sangati, that was the sequence or the logical understanding of those three sutras. And Nishchaya Daradhya, it's a very significant term. It's a stage lower than attainment of Parabhakti. Parabhakti is state of God realization, it's state of Jivan Mukti. But Nishchaya Daradhya is a state prior to it. It is translated as firmness of conviction. In this stage, every one of us has to pass through this stage. Every bhakta has to pass through this stage. There is firmness of conviction that God is the goal of my life. So there is no more that God is the goal of human life. It is the goal of my life. The religion has become very palpable, tangible, personal. Swamiji in one of his letters uses the phrase, clear the deck for the battle. Clear the deck for the battle. So the devotee has cleared the deck for the battle. There is no intellectual confusion. What form of God, with form, without form, with attribute, without attribute, is really God the goal of my life? All those doubts, confusions are not there. There is no curiosity mongering. Reading this book, that book, what does this man say, what does that man say? All that is left behind. There is no shopkeeping. I'm not loving God because I want this, I want that, I want to get rid of this, I want to get rid of that. All that is no. There are some lofty reasons for me to seek God. I love God, I want God because God is the truth. I want God because God is the only object worthy of my love. So there are lofty reasons for the devotee to seek God. No petty reasons, no confusion. It is clear. There is attenuation of kleshas. The drives have been attenuated to a great extent. Those will not die, but they have been attenuated to a great extent. Sri Ramakrishna says that example of the river, initial stages of the river, it has passed. It has achieved a depth. It has got attention of purpose. The devotee is a professional, so to say. So that is a state of nishchayadarthya. And after that alone, one should venture into this Shastra Rakshana and Loka Rakshana and all that. That's what we had discussed in our earlier class. Today we shall take up 3-4 sutras because they all have the same topic. Here Narada Maharshi is going to list opinions of different acharyas on bhakti lakshanas. So he says, tal lakshanani vachyante nana mata bhedat. Tal lakshanani vachyante nana mata bhedat. Lakshana means characteristics, or we can say modes of expression, ways of manifestation. Characteristics of who? There is a pronoun, tat, that, or it. Its characteristics. So, again, it's a pronoun, so you have to refer. What is it referring to? So, most of the commentators interpret tat to mean parabhakti. So, parabhaktir lakshanani. The characteristics, modes of manifestation of parabhakti. Only one commentator takes this tat to mean nishchayadarthya. That was talked of in the earlier sutras. So according to him, what is being listed are the characteristics of nishchayadarthya, firmness of conviction. But most of other acharyas have taken it to mean parabhakti, tat. We will stick with this parabhakti. So the characteristics of parabhakti are the modes of manifestation of parabhakti. Vachyante will be listed out. That is lakshanani, it's a plural. So there are going to be many. And he says nana mata bhedat, because there are different opinions as to how parabhakti manifests itself in the life of a devotee. There are different opinions, and hence these will be listed. That is the literal meaning of the sutra. Now we have to understand the experience is one. The experience of parabhakti is unique and same. So the experience which a parabhakta had thousands of years ago, which a parabhakta will have now, or a parabhakta will have after thousands of years, the experience will be same. There is no difference in the experience per se. It's a subjective experience. There is no difference in the experience of parabhakti. It is experience of God. It is experience of truth. That is not different. The bheda is only in the mata. The way it manifests itself, the way parabhakti manifests itself, the way acharyas record that manifestation. In both, there is difference. But the difference is not in the experience of parabhakti. It is in the recorded expressions of parabhakti. Why should there be difference? Because every human being has different nature. Every Parabhakta had different nature, has different nature. So post Parabhakti, after Parabhakti, the Parabhakti will manifest in those natures, in those ways of nature. The momentum of Parabhakta, the momentum of life prior to attainment of Parabhakti. In the same momentum, Parabhakti will manifest itself. Parabhaktas have different natures. And after attaining Parabhakti, Parabhakti will manifest itself in those very natures. So that is one reason why there is difference in the expression of Parabhakti. And what is being listed here are the opinions of the Acharyas, the recorders of those expressions. There again, the nature of the recorder will add to the variety of opinions. An intellectual person, he or she sees a Parabhakta, will record the expressions of Parabhakti in a certain way. An emotional person will record those expressions of Parabhakti in another way. A dynamic person in a third way. So there is this difference of natures in those who are recording the expressions. And even the expressions themselves are different because the Parabhaktas, they have different natures. And hence, there is this Nana Manta Bheda. Differences in the opinions of the Acharyas who have recorded the expressions of Parabhakti. But the experience of Parabhakti per se is unique. That we should understand. It is not different. It is same. Same for all Parabhaktas, past, present and future. Expressions will differ. Their records will differ. Experience is same. Now Narada is going to list out 3 opinions, 3 records, so to say, of 3 Acharyas, 3 great Acharyas. So he says, Pujadishu Anuraga iti Parasharyaha. Pujadishu Anuraga iti Parasharyaha. Kathadishu iti Gargaha. Atmarati Avirodhene iti Shandilyaha. Three Acharyas Narada quotes. Parasharya is Bhagavan Veda Vyasa. He is the son of Parashara. So he is called Parasharya. Veda Vyasa's opinion is quoted. So Veda Vyasa is a very celebrated figure in our Hindu religious literature. He is the compiler of the Vedas, composer of many Puranas and especially of Bhagavata, which is supposed to be the very principal work on Bhakti. So his view is quoted. Then Gargamuni's view is quoted. And then there is way of Shandilya. He is again a Bhakti Acharya. We have Shandilya Bhakti Sutras. Just as we have Narada Bhakti Sutras, we have Shandilya Bhakti Sutras. So he is also a Bhakti Acharya. So views of these 3 persons, these 3 Acharyas have been quoted by Narada. As I said, these are their views on how Parabhakti manifests itself in the life of a Parabhakta. Now we have to understand, their views are not limited to what Narada has quoted. Narada has quoted one sentence, so one view for each. But Vyasa Maharshi has many views, many opinions, many records as to the ways Parabhakti will manifest in the life of a devotee. Garga also will have many views as to how Parabhakti manifests in the life of a devotee, and so also Shandilya. Narada has done what is called pick and choose from opinions of Veda Vyasa as to how in various ways Parabhakti can manifest itself. He has picked one So also, from the opinions of Garga, he has picked one, and opinions of Shandilya, he has picked one. So Narada has done what is called pick and choose. But views of these acharyas are not restricted to what is quoted here by Narada, that we have to understand. How Parabhakti manifests itself in the life of a Parabhakta. Views on this matter of these three acharyas are not restricted to what is quoted here by Narada Maharshi. They will have, apart from what is quoted here, other views as well. Narada has carefully chosen these three views, and we will see why. Puja, Katha, Atmarathi. Puja is something physical. Katha is something verbal that deals with words. And Atmarathi is something that deals with heart or mind. So Kaya, Vacha, Manasa. He wants to cover these three aspects of our personality. And hence, he has chosen these three views to give us a so to say cross-section or a comprehensive view of how bhakti can manifest itself, how in different ways bhakti can manifest itself, parabhakti can manifest itself in the life of a devotee. That's why he has chosen these. The first one is Pujadishu Anuraga iti Parasharya. So Vedavyasa Bhagavan says Parabhakti will manifest itself in the life of a Parabhakta by way of immense love, Anuraga, for puja, etc. Puja is worship. Parabhakti will manifest itself in the life of a Parabhakta by way of immense love, Anuraga, for worship, etc. In other words, he says, Parabhakta will engage himself or herself with great delight in performance of puja. Now here puja does not necessarily or does not only mean sitting before an image and performing puja. It includes a gamut of physical activities related to puja itself, cleaning the temples and preparing sandal paste, garlands, puja, going to places of pilgrimage, homa, havana, serving the devotees of God, everything that is done physically out of love of God, inspired by love of God, it's called puja. So Vyasa Maharshi says, according to Narada, Parabhakta, in his or her life, you will find this expression of Parabhakti. That person will be engaged physically. Out of love of God, that person will engage himself or herself physically in doing puja, in going around the places of pilgrimage, serving the people, a dynamic expression of Parabhakti, so to say. Dynamic expression. It's very strange because even in Bhakti Shastra, puja or these physical means are said to be lowest of means because people cannot take up abstract means. So novices, those who have just started their spiritual life, they are advised to engage themselves in physical activities for the sake of the Lord. Narada, in the first list, the first entity of the list or first item on the list itself says physical activity, dynamic expression is an expression of Parabhakti. Parabhakti can and does manifest itself dynamically in physical activities for the sake of the Lord, out of love of God. So that is one view of Vedavyasa, Parasharya. Second view is of Garga. He says, Kathadishu iti Gargaha. That is, Kathadishu Anuraga iti Gargaha. So Garga says that Parabhakti, this immense love of God will manifest itself in the life of Parabhakta by way of his or her engaging in Katha. A Parabhakta you will find engaged in Katha will have immense love, Anuraga, for Katha. So Katha literally means stories, but here in this context it means verbal expression. That person will always talk about God, hear about God, read about God. Words. The Parabhakti will manifest through these. Namaguna, Kirtana, singing, listening, reading, talking. This seems to be a very popular or you can say, which we find in many places, in many devotees. This kind of expression of Parabhakti. In the life of Sri Ramakrishna itself, we see always talking about God or listening to God's name, or he will make someone read from holy books. And if somewhere God's name is being sung, he will say, "Let us go there." And the attendant will say, "Sir, we don't have invitation." He said, "No bother, don't bother about invitation. You don't need invitation to go to a place where God's name is being sung. Let us go." Kathadishu Anuraga. This we find in many devotees. Narada himself is an example. He keeps on singing name of the Lord, traveling all the worlds. Even in Anjaneya, Hanumana, Yatra Yatra Raghunatha Kirtanam, Tatra Tatra Kritamustakanjalam. We read that. When Rama was about to depart from this world, he told Anjaneya, "Look, I am going, but you have to stay and look after the devotees." Anjaneya said, "Yes, it is difficult to stay without you, but I will bear this pain of parting from you. I will bear this pain of not living with you, only on one condition. I will stay on this earth only so long as your name is being sung on this earth." Anjaneya said, "So long as your name is being sung on this earth, I will stay. I can bear separation from you, but I can't bear separation from your name." As I said, this Kathadisha Anuraga, this we find in many devotees. That is another expression of this Parabhakti. These devotees will have intense love, immense love towards listening, talking about God. And you see, if we see our life in world also, we see we are always fond of talking of people we love. So, anyways, these devotees, that is second expression of this Parabhakti. And the third one quoted, Shandilya says, Atmarati tat avirodheneti. He says, all that is fine. I would say it is love of God, the heart, the flow of mind, the flow of love towards God. By rejecting everything that is virodhi to such love. That is the expression of Parabhakti. So you will find a Parabhakta immersed in that love of God, continuous flow of thoughts towards God, loving remembrance of God, at the exclusion of everything that is virodhi, that is opposed to it. That is the view of Shandilya. So that is where the mind, it is more psychological, more spiritual, so to say. Spiritual in the sense that different from body and words, body and speech. In that sense, spiritual. All are spiritual, but more psychological, you can say. So this is how Narada has given us a cross-section. One Acharya says it is the dynamic, the expression is dynamic. The other say the expression is verbal. The third says expression is psychological. So these three expressions are there, and then Narada will give his own explanation. Let's see in next class. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.